Hello, welcome to GTech Techno Solution Private Limited. Today we are going to discuss about the interview questions based on Java. What is Java? Is our first question. Java is a programming language and it is platform independent. Platform means any hardware or software environment in which a program runs, and it is known as platform. Since Java has its own runtime environment, that is your JRE and API, it is called as platform. Hence, it is platform independent, because the Java has its own Java virtual machine and Java API, which forms as a runtime environment for Java. Let us move on to our next question. How many types of memory areas are allocated by Java Virtual Machine or JVM as abbreviation? The following are the types of memory areas: class area, heap, stack, program counter register, and native method stack. These kind of questions are highlighted in interviews of TCS and Infosys. Let us see our next question. What is JIT compile, which is also known as just-in-time compiler? So it is used to improve the performance. JIT compiles the parts of the bytecode that have similar functionality at the same time, and hence it reduces the amount of time needed for compilation. So here the term compiler refers to a translator from the instruction set of Java Virtual Machine, that is a JVM set, to instruction set of specific CPU. So this is known as JIT compile or just-in-time compiler. Our next question is, what is the main difference between Java platform and other platforms? Java platform differs from most other platforms in the sense that it is a software-based platform that runs on the top of other hardware-based platforms. It has two components: runtime environment and API, which is nothing but application programming interface. So this is a major difference between Java platform and other platforms. These type of questions are highlighted in interviews of Infosys and Polaris. Let us see our next question. What gives Java its write once and run anywhere nature? If you see, Java has the bytecode. So whenever you compile a Java program, it is initially compiled into a bytecode, which will act as the intermediate language between your source and machine code. So this intermediate language can be directly run in any Java virtual machine, giving your final output. Hence, this bytecode is not platform specific. If a machine has Java virtual machine, then definitely it can run the program. So hence, it can be fed into any platform. So that is known as write once and run anywhere nature of Java. Let us see our next question. What is class loader? A class loader is a subsystem of Java Virtual Machine or JVM that is used to load classes and interfaces. There are many types of class loaders. Some of the examples are given over here as Bootstrap class loader, Extension class loader, System class loader, and plugin class loader. So, you will be entering your program's class files, which will be fed into the class loader, which will produce the bytecodes, and that will be passed on to your execution engines. The class loader refers the Java's API class files in order to produce your bytecodes. So this is the function of class loader. These type of questions are highlighted in the interviews of Tech Mahindra and TCS. What is a constructor? Is the next question. Constructor is just like a method that is used to initialize the state of an object, and it is invoked at the time of object creation. So whenever you want to create an object, you have to initialize the object, and that is done using your constructor. Here we have a small snippet of the Java code. If you see, we have a class which is having the name as bike1, and the bike1 is having the constructor as this. So the constructor has the same name of the class, and the constructor has the body part as bike is created. So when you create a new object for the class bike1, here we have created an object B. So this will run the constructor and give the output as bike is created. So that is the function of the constructor. Let us see our next question. What is the purpose of default constructor? A constructor that does not have the parameter is known as default constructor. So you don't have any parameter for the default constructor. Default constructor provides default values to the objects. The Java compiler creates a default constructor only if there is no constructor in the class. If you see over here, we have a default constructor as this for the class person, because we don't have any argument to be passed for the person. Whereas in your second constructor, it has a parameter. You have to pass a name. So that is not a default constructor. That is a parameterized constructor. These questions are highlighted in interviews of Mindtree and Emphasis. Let us see our next question. Is constructor inherited? The answer is no. Constructor is not inherited. It cannot be inherited. What is static variable? Is our next question. Static variable is used to refer the common property of all objects. That is, it will be not unique for each object. Example, the company name of employees will be same, whereas your college name for all the students of the college will be same. Those things or those variables are known as static variable. Static variable gets memory only once in class area at the time of class loading. If you see over here in our program, we have declared a variable to be static. That is, our count is static as 3. So how many times we run the program, we have only 3 sets of variables that can be passed. So that makes the count to be static. Let us see our next question. It is, what is inheritance? The answer is, inheritance is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and behavior of another object of another class. It represents and is a relationship, and it is mainly used for the properties of code reusability and method overriding. So these are the applications of inheritance. For these reasons we use inheritance. Our next question is, what is the keyword super in Java? The keyword refers to the immediate parent class object. So that is what is meant by super. If you see over here in our program, we have a class known as vehicle, and we have a subclass bike4 which inherits vehicle. If you see over here in the function display, we have our output to be super.speed. On executing this program for the object P of the base class will be executed. That is, we are creating an object for bike4, that is the derived class, and we are invoking the display of the derived class, but the value that will be invoked will be super.speed, that is nothing but the parent class value. So your output will be 50. So this is the purpose of super in Java. Can you use this keyword and super both in a constructor? The answer is no, because super or this must be the first statement. Let us see our next question. What is object cloning? The object cloning is used to create the exact copy of an object. Our next question is, what is method overloading? The answer is, if a class has multiple methods by same name but different parameters, then we can say that as method overloading. It increases the readability of the program. These kind of questions are highlighted in interviews of TCS and Infosys. Let us see our next question. What is method overriding? If a subclass provides a specific implementation of a method that is already provided by its parent class, then this is known as method overriding. It is used for runtime polymorphism and to provide the specific implementation of the method. So that is known as method overriding. Let us see our next question. What is the difference between method overloading and overriding? Method overloading increases the readability of the program, whereas if you see, method overriding provides specific implementation of a method that is already provided by its superclass, that the process or the method will be already available in the superclass, and apart from that, if you want any specific implementation, that can be added in method overriding. Method overriding occurs in two classes, that is having and is a relationship, that is an inheritance. whereas a method overloading occurs within the class itself. In method overloading, the parameters must be different, whereas in method overriding, the parameters must be the same. So this makes method overloading different from method overriding. So these are the points that makes both different. Let us move on to our next question. What is the difference between static binding and dynamic binding? In case of static binding, the type of the object is determined only during your compile time, whereas in dynamic binding, the type of the object is determined during the runtime. If you see over here, this example is for static binding. Here in our main, we are creating an object d1 of the type dog, and we are invoking the method walk using the object d1. So d1.walk will invoke the method over here, and the output will be dog is walking. And this is realized by the compiler that d1.walk will execute the statement during the compile time itself. Whereas in a dynamic binding, we have a base class and a derived class that is derived from the base class. So if you see, we have two methods for walk, and two methods are having different output line. When we execute the void main, we are creating an object for the base class and assigning it to the derived class initialization. So if you see, when I invoke the walk method using this object A, it will invoke the derived class method. So this is known as dynamic binding, and it happens only during the runtime. The compiler will be able to know that this method is what it has to execute. Let us move on to our next question. What is meant by abstraction? Abstraction is nothing but a process of hiding the implementation details and showing only the functionality to the user. To say in simple terms, your abstract class will be combining the functions of each and saying it as fruits. But when we take it in specialization, we can say that it can be a mango or a banana. So that is what abstraction about. Hiding the implementation details and showing only the functionality to the user. These type of questions are highlighted in interviews of Tech Mahindra and TCS. Let us move on to our next question. What is the difference between abstraction and encapsulation? Abstraction hides the implementation details, whereas encapsulation wraps the code and the data into a single unit. If you see over here, encapsulation is done over here as the mathematical equation assures that complex functions are required, but the end gives you a result. So the calculator shows the result of the equation and hides the implementation. So this is known as, 'as, 'as' 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 In your abstraction, the calculator shown in the figure has to be powered by a battery source. How the battery module works for the calculator is not necessary. So, that is meant by abstraction. Let us see our next question. What is interface? The answer is, interface is nothing but a blueprint of a class that have static constants and abstract methods. It can be used to achieve full abstraction and multiple inheritance. Our next question is, what is the difference between abstract class and interface? Abstract class can have method body, whereas your interface has only abstract methods. An abstract class can have an instance variable, whereas your interface cannot have instance variables. An abstract class can have a constructor, whereas your interface cannot have a constructor. An abstract class can have static methods. Your interface cannot have static methods. You can extend up to one abstract class, whereas you can implement multiple interfaces. So here only one abstract class can be extended, whereas you have multiple interfaces to be implemented. So that makes the major difference between abstract class and interface.